Good evening, everyone. We are so excited to be live with you tonight with Andrea Cecchi from the Cecchi Winery. This is the third Italian wine tasting we have had this week. So we're closing out Italian tastings tonight with Andrea. We're very excited. Tonight on the line for our event, An Evening in Chianti, you have myself, Carol Ann. I'm here to help monitor questions and comments that come in for Andrea. If you're having any technical difficulties, send me a message, leave a comment on Facebook or chat in Zoom. We have Andrea Cecchi, the CEO of the Cecchi Winery. We have Francisco, who is the export director for the Cecchi Winery. We have our wine marketing specialist, Lisa Goslin, here tonight. We have Amanda and Lisa from the Terlato Wines team and Megan from Horizon here in New Hampshire. We wouldn't be able to have Cecchi in our stores if it weren't for those three ladies, and of course, Lisa. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. We are so excited to get started. Andrea has a great presentation for you. I have had the pleasure of meeting Andrea in person at a few of our winter wine spectaculars. He has attended, I think we determined 12 of the 16 winter wine spectaculars. And as much as we wish we were going to be seeing everybody in person this year, we're really excited about our 90 Days Around the World virtual tastings. So, tonight it's already tomorrow for Andrea. So it's, you're getting two events in one. It's a Wednesday night and a Thursday morning event. So, we can't do that kind of thing when we're meeting in real life. So we are just so excited for everything that we have been able to do with this 90 days program. So without further ado, Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. And thank you, of course, to the New Hampshire Liquor Commission to invite me for this evening, for this tasting. I am located in our offices in Castellina in Chianti, in Tuscany. And my family is an historical family involved in winemaking. And I am very proud. And of course, at the moment, the family owns 6 different estates. Uh, as you know, we have in Tuscany many different appellations, and so my family and the property that the family owns can cover the most prestigious appellation that are in this region, which is in the middle part of the country. And basically, we produce all these wines with the Sangiovese. We are going to taste 4 wines together with you. And at the moment, I'm located inside of the Chianti Classico, and we are going to talk about the Chianti Classico. So we see a few slides that represent how important is the Chianti Classico even in the United States. So it's a big appellation, and as you can see, you can go to the next, please, Marianne. Okay, so these are the numbers of the appellations, and so we have more than 500 producers, and we have 7,000 hectares planted at the appellations. And the average production is 4 tons of wine per hectare. And of course, this appellation, you can go to the next one, is very well represented all over the world. So we cover more than 125 different markets. And I'm very proud that the United States is the #1 market for this for the Chianti Classico. So you see the 34 represented 34% of the share of the market, which is the United States market. The 23 is the domestic market, is the Italian market. So we can go to the next one. And we see the pyramids of the appellations. So we have the regular, which is the annata, the vintage, which represent the 64% of the total production. The next step is the Chianti Classico Riserva, which is very well known in the United States because, of course, the percentage of Chianti Classico Riserva that the appellations have altogether in the United States is represent big numbers. And since 2012, inside of the board of the Chianti Classico, we decided we could have another step, which is Gran Selezione, so Gran Selection, and represent only the 5% of the total production. And that represent the peak of the pyramids that must be produced only by the growers. So not the negociant, they are not allowed to produce the Gran Selezione, which is very important. Of course, this wine must be aged a little bit more than the Chianti Classico Riserva, which needs 2 years of aging before to release on the market. So the Gran Selezione is something new, is something, of course, prestigious, and we produce the wine that we are going to taste in a single vineyard, and we can talk about that later when we pass the tasting of the wine. So we can go to the next one, where we see where is located this appellation. So you see on the right, Italy, l'Italia, which represent all the regions that we have inside of our country. Tuscany is in the middle of the country. We have the seaside on the left of Tuscany, which is the Mediterranean Sea. And the Chianti Classico is exactly in the middle of the region between Florence, as you see in the left, and Siena, which is in the south part of the appellations. The appellation is divided by 8 commons, otto comuni, and my family produced the Chianti Classico in the Castellina and Chianti Comune. As you can see from the map, we have 4 different cities that brings the word Chianti together with the name of the city. So we have Castellina and Chianti, Radda and Chianti, Gaiola and Chianti, and Greve. So the Chianti Classico, we can go to the next, represent the historical part of the Chianti history. And you see in red the area of production of the Chianti Classico, and in gray you can see where we can produce the Chianti, which is a little bit bigger than the Chianti Classico. So the Chianti Classico represent the most historical area and bring classical word just to make the difference, because the Chianti Classico is an area and Chianti is an appellation. So this is just to focus a little bit in the Chianti Classico appellation. But we can start to present a very interesting story about the first wine that we are going to taste, because this wine is very well known in Italy. And 12 years ago, together with Horizon and Terlato, and of course Nicole from the New Hampshire Liquor Commission, we decided to import this wine in United States. So this wine started to be imported in United States thanks to the New Hampshire market. And so we are so proud of this, because after that, now we represent this wine in many different states of the United States, and represented one of the big market, of course, for this wine. Then we move to the Chianti Classico, and of course, this label for us represent our bestseller all over the world. So this represent what is Cecchi all over the world. So we are very proud of this wine. And then inside of the Chianti Classico, we also have the Gran Selezione. For sure, many of you recognize the Chianti Classico thanks to the Black Rooster. The Black Rooster, which is also in the slide, is always, and we are obliged to have the Black Rooster, which is the symbol of the consortio, which represent the appellation, which makes the evolution of the rules of the appellations. And we are obliged to add the Black Rooster in the back label or in the neck. In the neck, we have, of course, the building where I am located now, with the name of the city, which is Castellina and Chianti. And the last wine that we are going to taste is a fantastic red wine, which is coming from the gem of the Renaissance, which is a little and historical city, which is Montepulciano. And we must be very careful, don't make confusion between the Montepulciano town and Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, which is coming from another region. So Montepulciano The Vino Nobile is produced with Sangiovese and with other local grapes, which are Canaiolo and Colorino. So this is a Vino Nobile, which is very well known in the United States and is a wine that is aged for 2 years in cash. So I don't know if you want to start to make some questions or we can go through the tasting if you want.
So, Andrea, we do have a couple of questions already. So somebody is very impressed by how many times you visited us here in New Hampshire, and they're wondering if you could share a favorite memory.
Well, my favorite memory is the friendship that I discovered talking to the people, and I enjoy stay there because is a part of United States, right, which is very similar to Italy, to the place where I live, because the people are very friendly, and not many places of the country, you see the same relation, the same warm personality of the people. So this is for sure the most important things that impressed me, and that's why I've been to the wine spectacular so many years, because each year I have the chance to see friends in New Hampshire and enjoy at this nice event the new vintage, and just to ask how is going the family, and this is the life. This is life in Italy, but of course I had a chance to see that is life also in New Hampshire.
Great. And then that same person was wondering if Lisa could tell us, normally the Winter Wine Spectacular benefits Easter seals. And so this person on Facebook was wondering if we're doing anything to benefit Easter seals this year.
Well, I miss, Prego.
Yes, we are. We're holding a really nice raffle to help benefit, raise money to benefit the Easter seals and the New Hampshire Food Bank this year, in replace of the Winter Wine Spectacular and the Distiller Showcase. We have this raffle that's going on, and you can choose a wine package, or you can choose a spirit package. Our goal is to raise $500,000 for the New Hampshire Food Bank and for Easter seals combined. So we have tickets that are on sale. You can buy them now through April 1st. And the wine package features 17 rare bottles of wine and 35 rare bottles of spirits. So it's a really great, raffle to promote, and you have a chance to have great rare wines. I'd also like to mention just a couple of the bottles that are part of the package. For instance, we have a bottle of 2016 Chateau Petrus. We have 2017 Romanée Conti, which is a very sought after wine. We have Chateau Margaux in there. We also have some rare spirit bottles, like OFC 1994 bourbon whiskey. We also have Pappy Van Winkle in there. It's a 23-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. A lot of, the wine package is valued at like $19,000. And the spirits package is valued at around $30,000. So it's a great opportunity for people to win a package of wine or spirits. And we have tickets on sale right now through April 1st. And they're only $100 a piece. So, check out this great raffle. It's for a great cause. And I will post the link so that you guys can get more information about it. There's only 71 days left for to buy tickets. So don't miss out on this great raffle.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. We do have a few more questions, but they are specific to some of the Cecchi wines. So Andrea, I'll hold off on those until you get to those wines. Oh, Andrea, you're on mute. We'll get him back in a minute.
Yeah,
there he is.
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, we have a few more questions, but I'm going to wait on those because they are specific questions about your wines, and we're going to be tasting them. So,
Okay, okay. So we can go forward
yes.
in tasting. Good. So the first wine is Sangiovese IGT Toscana that we produce since many years. And this wine is coming from the coast. My family has a lovely estate in Maremma. So the grapes of this wine are coming from there. We crush in the same estate. And we have a great news to tell to the people that are following in this Zoom because this estate, since the vintage 2020, is certificated organic. So we are one of the most, I would say, important producer in Tuscany because we have more than 450 acres cultivated uh, in organic methods. So we are very proud. And this wine is a wine that is uh, so nice because it's very open to the nose, very fruity, and reminded the cherry, the very ripe cherry at the nose. And so it's very, I would say, enjoyable. And I love this wine, for instance, with some pizza, or I love this wine with some salame or some pasta with tomatoes, because it's very drinkable, even in the mouth. We have a very soft tannins. So it's very enjoyable. We have a little long finish in the aftertaste. It's typical of Sangiovese, so has not a very heavy body. So it's not jammy. It's a little bit vertical with some freshness inside of the glass. And in the mouth, you really enjoy this wine. And it's a wine that is a food friendly. So this is a Sangiovese, which is really very well known in New Hampshire market. Any question about this wine?
So, Andrea, Jill here on Zoom, she is complimenting on your glass and is wondering if it is is it a specific type of glass?
Well, this is a glass that we use in the winery for the tasting, and is a glass that I love. Is is a Wiesberger shape. Wiesberger is a designer that he was studied this glass, and of course, it's crystal. And this glass, I would say, is mostly for the red wines that can be young or aged. So I have the same glass for all the wine that we are going to taste. Of course, for certain aged wines, sometimes we use more balloon glasses, balloon crystal, but I think this wine can be used for any type of wine that we have made with Sangiovese. So that's why I love this wine, because I can compare easily the different nose and the different taste, of course, of the different wines. And it's very light and very well balanced in terms of its crystal. So I love this. And it's very solid because we use a lot of, uh, we do many tastings. So that is very important aspect.
And then David would like to know, he says, the primary grape in Chianti is Sangiovese. How much do you experiment with other grapes to blend with the Sangiovese?
Well, we are a very traditional winemaker in Chianti Classico, I would say everywhere except the coast. We experimented mostly the Colorino Toscano because our estate, they are located in a very warm places. And as you know, all the Italian grapes, but specifically the Sangiovese, is very late in ripening. And so we need the good, hot weather in summer and in September to have a very ripe taste fruit of Sangiovese. And Colorino is a little bit later in type of ripening. So the Colorino can be blended with the Sangiovese, not in this case, but in other case, just to emphasize the character in the mouth, to have a longer finish, like in a Chianti Classico Storia di Famiglia, which is the next one. We also experimented some international grapes in 90s. In 90s, we had in Tuscany the new wave or dark color red wines, and we used to blend the Sangiovese with some Cabernet Sauvignon, some Merlot, some Syrah. We have many producers that they still do something like that, and I really enjoy that, even in different parts of Chianti Classico. And that depends very much where they are located. Because, for instance, Chianti Classico, I have a map with me here, and we have the different altitude. And so, for instance, the Merlot can be really very good where the altitude is pretty high. So it depends. So the wine producer, the winemaker, they know where they are located and they know which are the best um, other grapes that they can use together with the Sangiovese to make, for instance, the Chianti Classico. On the coast, it's a different way. On the coast, we have the Maremma in the south part of the region, and then we have Bolgheri in the northern area, in Leghorn district. Over there, we have mostly international grapes in Bulgaria. In the south part of Maremma, we have mostly Sangiovese with a very interesting part of Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Syrah. So over there is more like the south of France. It's more uh, an innovation area, a new wine area. And so we don't have the historical background that we have here in Chianti Classico, where the Sangiovese must be at least the 80% inside of the blends.
Great. And then, so just before I move on, I would like to ask a question to our attendees. So those of you watching on Zoom and everybody on Facebook, I want to know who's tasting along tonight. So if you're watching on Zoom, leave a message in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook, you can just leave a comment with a wine glass emoji. I'm just curious who's enjoying Wine Wednesday with us. So thank you for indulging me, everyone. And Andrea, please go ahead with the next wine whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. So the next wine that we taste is, as I told you before, is the most important wine that we produce. And we produce this wine since many, many years. So this is one of the most historical appellations. Um, we had the appellation in Italy since 1966. And Tuscany, with the Chianti Classico and the Chianti and the Vernaccia di San Gimignano and the Vino Nobile later, they were the first appellation to have the DOC appellations. So um, my father used to have different property, and he decided to move inside of the Chianti Classico and buy a new estate to make this wine before then 1966. And this is a blend between Sangiovese, which is between 90 to 95%, depending vintage by vintage. And then we add the Colorino that I mentioned before. So this is a wine that has a deeper color comparing the other Sangiovese. The Chianti Classico, I would say, has a different climate between weather between and temperature between the night and the day. So here I can smell the violet, the irises, and the cherry. So it's between the fruit and the flowers, not only the fruit, the ripe fruit at the nose. In the mouth, is a little bit longer in a in a in a mouth, and has the character of the Sangiovese, which is thin with the tannins that are very well integrated with the freshness, with the acidity, and the body is much bigger comparing the other one. So it's full mouth, and you can see, you can taste the glycerin, which is the natural components of the wine in your mouth. So makes your your mouth a little bit wet because the freshness is giving you the sensation to have some food to drink, to eat together with this wine. So I love this with the tagliatelle al ragu, meat ragu, for instance. And this wine in Italy is considered un vino a tutto pasto, all the meals. So we can enjoy this wine with different type of food during the meal. It's very clean, in a technical way. So remind exactly the taste of the Sangiovese. This wine is aged in wood. Wood means barriques and tonneau, but we don't taste, we don't feel the oak taste because we don't want to make very oaky red wines in our style.
So Andrea, I just want to let you know we have at least 13 people tasting along with you tonight.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
The,
Cheers.
the
Cheers.
comments are still coming in, but at least lucky 13.
Good. Salute.
We do have a couple more questions too. David here on Zoom, he's wondering, why is the Sangiovese called Sangiovese and not Chianti if Chiantis can be 100% Sangiovese grapes?
Well, um, Chianti is an area, Sangiovese is the grapes. And we have many other examples like this. For instance, we have Vernaccia, which is the grapes, San Gimignano is a city. And then we have Morellino, which is a grape, which is a nicknames, and Scansano is a city. So in Italy, I would say in the old world, we have in many cases, a connection between the grape and the area. In the case of Chianti, we have the area of Chianti and Chianti Classico, and the grapes is called another way, with another name. For instance, the Sangiovese is the grape that we use to make the Brunello. So Brunello di Montalcino is made with Sangiovese because it's the most important grape that we cultivate in the center part of Italy, of Italian country.
And then one of our viewers on Facebook is wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what you have actually done at the winery. So you're the CEO now, but what did you do before you were CEO?
It's a long story. Well, I had a doctor degree in agriculture many years ago, and then I started to manage the state, one state, the state which is close to the office where I'm located now in Castellina and Chianti. And at that time, I was taking care about the vineyards, and that was a very nice period. Was very useful for my careers. And with a consultant, I used to make the wine following the suggestion that they were giving me. And of course, as happened quite often when you are young, you want to develop and make research and buy new techniques and have a more um, attention to the details of in the vineyards and in the fermentations. So this was a challenge for me, open the mind and see how I could develop the business. So I was working with a dirty hand in a fields and in a cellar. That was very important for my career. So I thanks my father that he passed away 17 years ago because was giving me the chance to touch with a hand exactly what is our business.
That's awesome. And then we just have one more question for you before we move on. Tracy here on Zoom would like to know if you're in the tasting room right now.
Yes, yes, I am in the office. I am in one of the tasting room that we have in our office, and here's we have a good, I would say, atmosphere for the voice. So I decided to come here because we have nice light even during the night, like now, and we have closed window now because it's dark, but it's nice because it's pretty big, and also this ceiling represent the Chianti because we have a lot of wood, we have the brick, so this represent the historical type of things that we have even in a church. The Middle Age church, more or less with this type of ceiling.
Tracy also says she'd like to get out there someday. And I agree. So Tracy, you and me, girls trip.
Well, we changed our mentality like happen everywhere in the world. So today we have nice hospitality places. Luckily, we are not able to travel uh, for the problem that we know, but I hope soon we could have visitors, and we organize tour, testing, wine experience, and we have close in the other part of the state. We have a restaurant which is open 12 months in a year, and we can enjoy the wines that we produce with the Tuscan food. So everywhere in our state, we are organized to receive people.
Excellent. So we'll all come visit, come home with cases, and we'll taste again.
Good. I wait you. So the next one is the Chianti Classico Gran Selezione. As I mentioned before, um, the Gran Selezione was born in 2012, but my family produced the first vintage of Gran Selezione in 2015. So this is the vintage that you have in New Hampshire now. So I have the same wine with the same vintage that you have in New Hampshire. And the Gran Selezione is a wine that is produced in a vineyard which was planted in 1965. So many, many years ago. So we have a small crop and it is produced with 100% of Sangiovese. So this is the most, say, spectacular Sangiovese with an extra fine taste and bouquet. So this wine was aged for 14 months in barrique and tonneau, and then we had other 8 months in cement before the bottling. So this wine is more than 3 years that is in the bottle because at least we age the wine. We, I mean, we age the wine in the bottle 1 year before the release. And this is a typical Sangiovese, which are which is produced in Vigna Vecchia old vines, because you see the glycerin in a glass, so represent I would say the strongness, the character of the Sangiovese and the smell. The bouquet is fantastic. The complexity that you have because it's not only the fruit, but it's also the other aroma that are coming from the aging. So we have a nuance of wood, not too much, well balanced. In the mouth is really very long, with a fantastic savory, fantastic taste of grapes, of Sangiovese. And the finish is never hand. So you can keep the taste of the wine in the mouth for so long. And this is a typical type of Sangiovese because the Sangiovese has not the muscles. The Sangiovese is elegance. And I love this wine with some cheese. So we need something that can be appreciated with wine. So the cheese, I think, even aged cheese are the best with a Gran Selezione.
Andrea, Mark here on Zoom would like to know how this wine compares to the Vino Nobile.
The Vino Nobile has a different character in the mouth. The bouquet can be not so different because the Vino Nobile is aged for 2 years at least in big cash. So we need by law, but like Brunello, we age the Vino Nobile so long, but we don't use the barrique. We use the big wooden barrel, and because we don't want a very oaky wine, because 2 years is a pretty long time. And in the mouth, we have the Gran Selezione, which is thinner and longer than the Vino Nobile. The Vino Nobile has more complexity, but it's a little bit shorter than this.
Awesome, thank you. Are you up for another question?
Yes, okay.
Great. How does the clone in Vino Noble differ from your Classico? What characteristics come out in the Noble?
Historically, the Vino Nobile is produced with different clones of Sangiovese. The Mammolo, the Prugnolo Gentile are the names of the selections that we used to have in Montepulciano. Honestly, in the last 20 years, we had a very deep selection of new clones that they produce lovely Sangiovese style red wines, of course. And so I would say that we changed the mentality in Tuscany, and I would say that in the majority of the situation, we may use the same clones because the clones is chosen by the characteristics of weather and soil. What is changing quite often is not the clones of the varietals that we use to make wine, but is changing the clones of the rootstock. As you know, the plants of the vine is composed by two pieces, the rootstock and the variety. So the rootstock we call in Europe the um, American rootstock, the American, I would say, the American rootstock, yes, of the vine, because um, it's very strong with the Phylloxera vastatix. Phylloxera is a little animal that can create a big damage to the vines. So we need to graft. Since late 1800, we graft all the vines with American rootstock and the varietals. Many years ago, we just put the varietals in a soil, but when we discovered the Phylloxera vastatix, we started to have the graft of the vines. So in Montepulciano, today, we probably use the same clone. I'm talking about the old producer that we use in Chianti Classico. What is changing is the rootstock because we have more clay, more calcareous, very dry soil, or for instance, a lot of sand. So you have to analyze where you plant the new vineyards. But historical vineyards are with old mass selections before the clones they became famous and very much selected. Hope my English is good enough with the technical things.
No, you speak English very wonderfully.
Thank you.
So a couple people have also asked, where is the Chianti Classico Gran Celestion available in our stores? So for those of you watching on Facebook, you didn't see Lisa's answer, so I'm going to read it to you. This particular Cecchi wine is only available in select locations of our stores. So you'll find it in Bedford, Hampton, Hooksett, Salem, Nashua, Londonderry, our bigger stores. So if you are interested in picking up a bottle, just check our website, liquorandwineoutlets.com, search for product code 21988, and then you'll see full inventory. But usually those bigger stores will have it. Excellent. What do we have next?
So this is the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. So this wine is produced with 90% of Sangiovese and 10% of Colorino and Canaiolo Nero, which is an indigenous grapes that we love in Montepulciano. And this wine, as I mentioned before, is a wine which is aged 2 years in cash. We don't make of this wine like the Gran Selezione big quantity. We just produce only um, few thousand bottles, and we don't have more than 1,000 cases in US. So we are very um, proud of the quality of this wine. And at the moment, we have the vintage 2015, like the Gran Selezione, which is an amazing vintage, one of the best vintage that we had in the last, I would say, 5, 6 years. And the Vino Nobile is a little bit dark in color comparing the Chianti Classico, the regular Chianti Classico. because in Montepulciano, the Sangiovese can be really very ripe. Of course, the aging is a little bit evident. We don't have the vanilla that is coming from barrique, but we have the nice oak mixed with the fruit taste that we have in the bouquet. And the complexity of the flavors is amazing. In the mouth, it's really full mouth and has really the complexity is coming from the structure is a little bit lower in acidity, very rich with a nice sapidity, but it's so rich of taste of Sangiovese, which is really an explosion of irises, cherry, which is really giving you a big impact and and tasting this wine.
Andrea, in making your multiple, excuse me, excuse my,
Montepulciano.
yes,
The Vino
excuse
Nobile.
my Italian.
Don't worry.
Do you feel that the climate is presenting new challenges in the production of the wine?
Yes, yes, that happen everywhere because I don't know what will be, but until now we discover that we have to be very careful in the canopy management. So we have to protect the bunches from the strongness of the sun ray. And so many years ago, uh, we used to have the harvest a little bit later because the Sangiovese is late in ripening. Now we anticipate the harvest because the Sangiovese is ripening much earlier than many years ago. And that happened because the weather is changed. We don't have so much rainfall. And that's why we love the indigenous grapes because the indigenous grapes, they are really, they have a big challenge in terms to because they are late in ripening, to have the last, I mean, the first rain in at the end of January, of August or beginning of September. So this is very important because, for instance, if you plant Merlot, which is early in ripening, sometimes is ripe before that we have the first rainfall. So we need a good rain to change the color of the berry and then to make a good ripeness to the berry. So I think that the changing of the weather will make our way of managing the vineyards in a different way. And of course, using different rootstock and using different methods also of vinification, because sometimes we must be very careful because we have very high alcohol content in the wine because the weather is so hot. So we must be very careful to select inside of the same vineyards different method, different parcel in terms to have a good alcohol content, which is really not too high because they don't want to produce very high in alcohol wines. So the people they want enjoy a glass of wine, not so alcoholic, because I think must be very elegant and well balanced between the alcohol and the freshness and the acidity.
Excellent. Before we move on, we do have another question for Lisa. So Lisa, somebody on Facebook has commented, we heard about Andrea's history. We'd love to know how long Lisa has been working at the commission.
So I've been working for the commission for about 25 years now. I started off as a cashier actually. And then I fell in love with wine and started to learn more about wine and the whole business. And I just moved up over the years and became a assistant store manager, a store manager, and just kind of just went up into different parts of the business. And I finally started working as one of the wine buyers. So I get to, you know, sample the wines and put them in the stores and have some great wines out there and get to meet great winemakers and owners like Andrea himself. So it's a great business, and we just love bringing great wines at great value to New Hampshire.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. All right, Andrea, I think we have one wine left. Is that right?
No, we finished. We finished. We had
No.
four. Probably you don't
Oh,
understand.
I'm just joking. I just wish there was more.
No. The last one was the Vino Nobile that we had, but I have close to me now the Chianti Classico, because I'm joking with the bottle. So
I wish there was more wines. But we do have some more questions for you. And then I will get into the code word for tonight. So before we get into that, Andrea, when would you choose the Vino Noble versus the Gran Selezione for a dinner? I do tend to lean towards elegant versus power normally, but not always. And that question came from Mark here on Zoom.
well, I think that I enjoy with the Vino Nobile with some meat, and I enjoy the Gran Selezione just to enjoy this wine with some cheese, or even after dinner. So it's just to enjoy a glass of wine even after dinner. And so when I choose a wine, it depends the occasion, and it depends uh, what I can have together with the wine. In Italy, we have a different methods, I would say, different culture, different habits to enjoy the wine. So we drink wine when we eat mostly. And probably in United States, like in many other countries, the people, they enjoy the wine even without food. So for us, the balance between the wine and the food that we have must be uh, very good. It means we don't want to have a wine which has more character than the food that we eat. That's why um, um, the, the I would say the accompanimento, uh, pardon me? The matching, yeah, the matching. Sorry, the word. And so we love to match the wine with food with the same character. So, for instance, white wines with fish. Then we have, for instance, even the Sangiovese. We may have the Sangiovese with some fish because it's a light wine, because it's very gentle in the tannins. But of course, we don't want to have very heavy wines with a light food, or the opposite. So it depends. For instance, now it's late in the evening or in the morning, but this one is something that I like to have when I have friends, and at the hand we open an older vintage, and we enjoy this wine before then we drink a coffee. So after dinner, with a piece of cheese, I love the Gran Selezione, for instance. The Vino Nobile is good with the meat.
Great. Lisa, this question might be for you and Andrea to answer together. One of our viewers on Facebook has very much enjoyed getting to know the Cecchi wines and is wondering if there are any other Cecchi wines that we sell in our stores besides these four.
Hi there. Sorry. Yes, we do have some other, we have a couple of Sangiovese wines, and we also have a couple of white wines, the Vanellope, and but for the most part, the ones that we have here tonight, the Sangiovese, the Chianti Classico, the Gran Seleccione, and the Montepulciano are the ones that we typically carry. We have some inventory arriving with the Vino Noble tomorrow, and that will be in selected stores. And I posted some of those stores that will have it in starting tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. All right, everyone. So we've had a couple of questions about tonight's code word. So you've been very patient. I appreciate it. I am going to tell you the code word now. So for those of you not familiar with our code word, this is part of our 90 Days Around the World program. And so we have a little virtual passport. If you would like to play along, we are doing double points right now. So there is still a chance that you will earn enough points to win our ultimate home bar. So you just download the Scabify app, search for 90 Days Around the World, and then you can start playing along. So we always do a little bit of trivia about the brand that we're going to have on. And then after each event, we also we have another question where you answer with the code word, which myself and Shannon and Sean announce every evening. So the code word for tonight is, you ready? Virtual hands up if you're ready. All right, the code word tonight is Chianti. We tasted it and now enter it into your app to earn double points for attending tonight's event. So the ultimate home bar is anybody who earns enough points is eligible to win that grand prize. We also have a secondary prize. We're going to be giving away some gift cards to our stores as well. But then for tonight, Andrea has a very special prize that he is giving away. It is a 1.5 liter bottle of Cecchi Chianti Classico Reserva 2014. And so this giveaway is only to be eligible, you must be a New Hampshire resident for this giveaway. So for the passport giveaways, anybody can play along and be entered, but for the wine, you have to be a New Hampshire resident. So Andrea is going to ask you a trivia question, and I'm going to monitor the chat to see who answers correctly. If you've been following along, he has revealed the answer already. So get excited. Andrea, I will let you share the trivia question while I watch the chat.
So are you ready? I ask, do you know how many generations my family is involved in the wine business?
Oh, a couple wrong answers so far, but very fast fingers, guys. All right, we've got correct answer. The correct answer is 4. And Eve, you were the first person to answer with that correctly. If you are a New Hampshire resident, please email me your address. I'll put my email address in the chat here on Zoom. You guys are really quick answering these trivia questions. Every night you surprise me with how fast you are. So good job. All right, we do have a few.
Complimenti, brava. This is the bottle.
Oh, how cool is that? It's a big one. All right, we do have a couple more questions for Andrea before we let him go about his Thursday. Let's see here. Oh, Andrea, somebody wants to know how many times you've been to the Winter Wine Spectacular. I believe we said 12.
Yes,
right?
more than 10 for sure. 11 or 12, yes. And I think, Lisa, this is the 17th, something like that, edition.
So we would be going on 16 years.
Wow.
16 years. So I had not all of them, but many.
A lot.
Many of them.
I remember a few years ago, we had a really bad snowstorm. So maybe you missed that one. Maybe you weren't able to fly in for that one.
Yeah, and once I stopped in New Hampshire for a few days because you had a big storm. I remember that.
Yep. The last time Andrea was here, I met him in Bedford. We did a little Facebook Live, and he signed, I think, every bottle of Cecchi wine that store had on the shelves. And I was very impressed and brought a few home for myself. So Mark here on Zoom would like to know how long your wines are typically aged.
Well, honestly, it depends vintage by vintage, but our wines, they can be in the bottle for many years. So for instance, the Sangiovese can be in the bottle from 6 to 8 years. Of course, it depends how you like the wine. If you like a fruity wine, can be enjoyed 4 years until 4 years after the harvest. So for instance, now we have the 2018. So this is it's still very fruity because the vintage was very fruity. So you can enjoy this wine for other 3 years, like a fruity red wines. The other wines, they can be in about 10 or more years if you keep at a good temperature or lie down, because you can keep the cork a little bit wet. And of course, the temperature and the humidity for the cork is very important. So we need to have 16, 18 centigrade, which is 55 Fahrenheit, and 80% of humidity, and the bottle must be kept lie down.
Great. So one more question for you. I keep saying one more question, but then people keep asking more questions. So this is really going to be the last one, everyone. So Laura on Zoom, she would like to know what the ideal temperature to store wine is.
The store, yes, the store is 14 centigrade with 80 to 85% of humidity. So we have a pretty big agent store, and we must be very careful, especially in summer, to bring down the temperature of keeping the wine. And we keep the wines mostly lie down, as I mentioned before, especially the Riserva, the Gran Selezione, the Vino Nobile, and of course, depends also the cork that we use. For instance, the Sangiovese di Toscana has a stealth enclosure, so this helps very much, not only the people, the drinkers, but also the agent in our estates.
Awesome. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We know it was a late night for you, and we want you all to know how much we appreciate your time. This tasting has been spectacular. We wish you could have been here in real life, but we'll see you maybe next year. It's been, I mean, I have met him in real life, and he is, if you thought tonight was great, you should meet him in real life. Like you have a great virtual personality, but your real life personality is even better. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to everybody. And thank you everybody behind the scenes as well. So Megan, who is actually going to be giving Eve, our winner, her bottle of wine. So we have Megan behind the scenes, Amanda, Lisa from Terlato. Thank you, Francesco, for being with Andrea tonight. And of course, James, who I work very closely with. He's been sharing some of the questions as they've come up. So we hope you all had a great night. If you have any more questions for Andrea, please go ahead and leave comments on Facebook, or when this video makes it up to YouTube, we will happily share them with him and get you some answers. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to the West Coast tomorrow with A to Z for Oregon Pinot Noir. So we are excited to keep going this week. And then next week is our last week of 90 days around the world. So get your passport points while you can. All right, we will see you all soon. Have a great night. Bye. Thanks again, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. It was great to see you. I hope you get some sleep now.
For sure, soon. I will love to be there, of course, but as soon as I can fly, I will come to visit you and see my friends in New Hampshire. Thank you for that.
We'll see you next year.
See you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.